Hello everyone again and welcome to this video on Gran Turismo Sport, and today, as the title suggests, we are racing against a real life Formula 1 driver, Esteban Ocon. And for any of you who think this might not be the real Esteban Ocon, he did post on his Instagram a photograph of his qualifying time, which has put him on pole position for this race. So we're starting in P3, directly behind him. Traction control on 1, as always, with these standing starts to get the best getaway. Now, we are in the Super Formula cars. Obviously, these are going to be spanned with Formula 1 liveries from past and present. We're in a 2004 Ferrari Michael Schumacher themed livery, as you can see there. So we've had a good start then. I think the Brit who was in P2 is having connection problems and he's dropped down with a bit of glitchiness and lag. So up to P2 then, so we're following directly behind Esteban Ocon, and he's pulled away a little bit from us here, so we're going to have to try and get our head down and bridge that gap if we can over the next lap or so. As we see here then, Ocon runs a little bit wide, and that gives us an opportunity to close up onto the back of him as we approach the hairpin, but we're not close enough to make a move. And you can see he doesn't have the best internet connection. It is moving around a little bit, so we're going to have to be a bit wary of that as we head up the hill towards Sweden. So in these Super Formula cars, we do have an overtake button that you can see the gauge down to the right, and it's a bit like a fuel gauge. So you have a set amount of overtake you can use throughout the race. If you use it all on lap 1, you won't have any for the rest of the race. So you want to use it sparingly and when you need to. We're going to use a little bit here just to close up onto the back of him, make sure we're close enough in the slipstream. We've obviously got the German Zocker behind as well, very, very close. So we're closing up to him very quickly as we go down into the final chicane, but we're not going to make the move there. We do run a little bit deep, which compromises our exit. So as we head onto the start-finish straight to complete lap 1, you can see in the mirror there, Zocker is closing in on us very, very quickly. He's clearly using a lot of boost here, and he ends up alongside us. He's got the inside line, and unfortunately we're going to have to concede that position and drop down to P3. So you know, we've actually had a pretty decent opening lap, and it's just a bit unfortunate that we had a slightly poor exit from the final turn there, and a combination of Zocker using his boost, and I decided not to use mine too much. Yeah, we've ended up losing position there, so a bit unfortunate, but we're obviously still in this race and we're not too far behind the leader. So strategy then in this one, we are currently on the soft tyres. Both the soft and the mediums are required in this race, so you need to make at least one pit stop, and you can do either a 2-stop or a 1-stop. So the 2-stop strategy would generally be to do 5 laps on the soft, 5 laps on the soft again, and then 1 lap on the medium at the end. Or you do 6 or 7 laps on the soft initially, and then do 4 or 5 laps on the medium at the end of the race. Obviously there are other drivers in this one that would have done an alternate strategy, so started on the medium tyres and then they'll have the faster compound of softs towards the end of the race. So we're on the softs at the moment. We are just going to see what the cars up ahead do and react to that. So the likelihood is we'll probably end up just following what the leader does. If the leader stays out on a lap 5 and doesn't pit from new softs, we'll probably do the same as he does too. The other thing I should mention is that fuel is not necessary. Well, I mean, it's necessary, you need to use it to obviously have any power at all, but you won't need to refuel during the pit stop. So fuel usage is not a concern for this one. So lap 3 then, and you can see as we're coming up through the S's, it's still all pretty close. Zocker is closing in on Ocon now, so just a second and a half separating the 3 of us as we set a personal best set to 1. Best lap of 39.2 for Ocon, so pretty good first lap pace. Obviously we lost a little bit of time losing the position down into turn 1 on our last lap, so that's why we're in the 40s, but we should be on for a better lap this time. Generally this race, the fastest lap will be set by someone who's on the softer tyres later in the race and has saved a lot of boost. So you tend to see best laps ranging between low 39s, depending on the strategy, and you can get right down into the low 37s if you save a lot of boost and you have soft tyres later on in the race. So as we head down the back straight, then we're going to use a little bit of boost because we can see Zoka up ahead has pulled out of our slipstream range, and he's right up on the back of Ocon now, so looking to do a move down into the final turn, but he's obviously not quite close enough, and you can see he's very, very close following through the final chicane. Now he's built a slight gap towards us, so we're going to start using our overtake a little bit and see if we can close up onto the back of these two there as we set our fastest lap to race of 39.4. And you see Zoka there has just hit into the 1:38, so he's moving very quickly as he looks towards the inside of Ocon going down into turns 1 and 2, but Ocon covers it off and keeps first place. And you can see again there's a little bit of internet lag from Ocon, so Zoka's going to have to be careful of that going through the S's. And you don't, to be honest, even if you've got a tyre advantage or you're massively quicker than the car in front, you don't want to try and move going through the S's. It's not really going to work out too well for you, if I'm being honest. So we're just going to speed things up a little bit here then as we head around the hairpin and up the hill towards Spoon. And you can see Zoka is very, very close to Ocon, and as we go around Spoon, I think he just gets caught out in the dirty air, ends up wide. And on this game, if you end up wide at Spoon, you get into all sorts of problems. It's very, very hard to get on the track without losing a hell of a lot of time there, and you end up with dirty tyres as well. So that promotes us back up into P2. We are a second and a half behind now, so we're going to have to start pushing in order to catch up with Esteban Ocon if we want a chance of winning this race. We're going to start using our overtake a little bit if we can, and as we cross the line we are 1.7 behind now, so we do have a little bit of work to do in this race. It is lap 5, so there's a chance that we may be pitting on the end of this lap depending on what the leader decides to do, or we're going to be going to lap 6 for our stop. Jumping ahead to the end of lap 5 then, as we go through the final chicane, and the leader decides to stay out, so we're going to do the same, and that means that we will be pitting at the end of lap 6 instead. And you can see there P3 behind has decided to do the same thing as us as well, but we do have a slightly bigger gap to the car behind. We've lost about a tenth to Ocon on that last lap, so we're going to have to push a little bit harder. It hasn't been the best lap from us, so we're going to have to get our head down and pitch into better pace to try and bridge that gap if we can. Skipping forwards to the end of lap 6 then, as we round the final chicane, and Ocon does indeed pit, so we decide to follow him in, taking the medium tyres of course, so that is our pit stop done for the day. And the pit lane loss here is around about 4.5 to 5 seconds I think, so we come out in second place, but we can see behind us there, as we look to the tyres that everyone has changed to, got max power in 4th place, has started the race on the mediums, but he's now just put the soft tyres on, so he will become a threat towards the end of the race. The soft tyres are probably at least a second faster than the mediums, and if he saved a lot of overtake he could well be catching up to us quite quickly. So although he's probably about 4 or 5 seconds behind at the moment, he could be a threat towards the end of the race. The other thing is as well, this was early on a Monday afternoon, so the first day of these daily races. I think this was maybe my 3rd race. Both of the previous races I had done the 2-stop strategy, so we'd done 2 stints on the soft and then just 1 lap on the medium. So this was my first run, my first long run on the medium tyres, so I wasn't particularly confident in my pace, or you can see as we go wide there, coming out Spoon, and I was a little bit nervous about being able to keep and hold a good pace on this particular tyre. So looking back in hindsight, I think maybe I should have just tried the alternate strat, or not the alternate strat, but tried to do something a little bit different and maybe pitted a lap ahead and see if we could undercut Ocon on the softer tyres. But hey, this is what we did, and we're just going to have to deal with it. So crossing the line then to begin lap 8, the gap ahead is 2.3 seconds, and you can see Got Max Power has overtaken the Italian, and he's now in 3rd position, and around about 4 seconds behind, and there are 4 laps to go. So he is going to be right on the back of us at the end of this race now. Skipping forwards then again, and we're halfway around lap 9 now. And you can see got max power. He just set the fastest lap of the race, and he has closed right up into onto the back of us now. So we are just over 3 seconds behind the leader, and got max power is just under a second behind us. So it's going to be very, very close as to whether he gets into our slipstream range along this back straight here. So we're going to move to the left hand side and use a bit of overtake just to see if we can break that. But you can see behind he's clearly used a lot of overtake. Obviously on the fresher tyres or on the softer tyres he's going to have a good exit out of spoon. And as we head down into the final chicane then, he is within 7/10 of us. So he's within the slipstream range as we go through the final corner. So we're going to keep it nice and close to the right hand side. Again, just trying to break the slipstream if we can, and as we start the penultimate lap of the race. But he's closing in on us all the time. So I very much think he's probably saved a lot of his overtake at the start of the race while he was on those medium tyres, and he's just been able to unleash it now. So yeah, he's got a lot more pace than us. You can see as we go through the S's, he's going to get very, very close with that extra grip. Even though he's in the dirty air behind us, he will have better grip and better traction out of these corners. As we come up the hill, you can see he's now just 2/10 behind. So we're going to do very well to hold on to this position here until the end of the race. So we're going to have to go defensive, but it is looking a lot like it's going to be a matter of when rather than if, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to try and make no mistakes ourselves and do what we can as we head up the hill then. And again, this is probably a place where he's likely to use a bit of overtake. We're just going to save ours now as much as we can. And he looks to the outside, so we defend the inside around spoon, but we keep that move covered off. And you can just see here, look at the front wheels, look at the understeer I'm starting to get going onto the back straight. Moving to the left again, just to try and break that slipstream a little bit if I can. And then we're going to go back onto the racing line and look to defend up the inside into the final chicane. You can see there around the outside he's able to be much later on the brakes. We keep it clean through the final chicane. He does get a little bit of oversteer there, which gives us a bit of a better exit. We have to move to the left hand side to avoid going into the back of him, and yeah, not much we can do about that move, unfortunately. We'll keep as close as we can through the S's and look to maybe make a move at the end of the lap if we can stay close enough and save our overtake for that. But you can see here with those softer tyres, and now we're in the dirty air behind him, there's just nothing we can do through this section. Getting a lot of understeer, and as we head around the left hand turn here up the hill, you can see he's already over a second ahead of us. So yeah, unfortunately we lost that position there. As we jump ahead to the final couple of corners to finish the race in third place. I should mention as well, you can really cut that final chicane there. So if you're doing this race this week, yeah, the final corner you can really cut without getting a penalty. So there we go, across the line and finishing in P3. And you know, we were only 3 seconds behind a real life Formula 1 driver until we got caught up with that battle at the end there. So yeah, pretty pleased with that, pleased with the pace, and looking forward to racing this race a few more times this week. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like and feel free to subscribe. It really does go a long way to helping me make more videos.